and Gills talking about deer and deer hunting this time around. So let's see, last week I ended the moose hunting content, and I've actually ended the moose hunting uploads, moose hunting content video uploads on my Spikes and Gills YouTube channel. And I've begun uploading videos having to do with deer hunting, and just general topics around deer, so forth, so on. So it's all about deer, white-tailed deer to be exact. So I'm waiting for some folks to join me live. There we go. We got someone. So I see some of you rolling in here now, joining me live. So please start chatting away. Let me know if you've already gotten a deer this year. If not, let me know, and let me and everyone else that's joining us, like, see, Jason Gibson is on here now. So hi, Jason. How you doing, pal? Thank you for joining me live this week, Jason. And I did see your, well, I responded to your comment, Jason. You commented on the bottom of one of my videos. So actually, I wanted to give a shout out to, heck, what was his name? Zach something. Zach. This guy, Zach, he did email me at my email, wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. He sent me an email with a little video clip of him dropping a coyote with a .25 caliber SX or something air rifle. It was an air rifle, and he claims that he drills holes. He can hit the same hole one after another with this 25 caliber air rifle. And he dropped a coyote and had like a little video clip of it, so forth, so on. I wanted to give a shout out to him and thank him for sharing that with me on my email. That was really cool. Let's see, yeah, that was actually a Facebook message that came through. Look, some more are joining us. So those of you that are joining me live, me and everyone else that's joining in on the chat, like Jason Gibson and so on and so forth, and this Zach guy, and we've got there's a couple other gentlemen that should be joining me here shortly. I'd like to hear from all of you on your deer success stories. I want to know if you've already had some success this season shooting deer with your bow, or maybe where you're from in the country, that maybe a rifle season or a shotgun season has opened up for you, or a muzzleloader type season for that matter. Just let us all know if you've been having any success so far. So, because this live stream is going to be all about deer. Let's see, we've got someone new joining me. Irish Breakfast 1689. He says he don't hunt, just passing through. Yeah, thank you, Irish, for stopping by. Irish says he don't hunt, but he was just checking things out. But I appreciate it, buddy. Actually, Irish, if you're still listening by chance, you may not hunt, but I'm going out on a limb here to say that you probably have some relatives or maybe some acquaintances at work, or friends for that matter, that hunt. Am I correct? Do you know of anybody that hunts deer or hunts anything for that matter? He says no. Okay. But so that's interesting that to know that you would join us live on a hunting channel. I've been building up a hunting fishing community here with my Spikes and Gills channel through this live stream business here. I've been going live every Monday night, trying to get a lot of returnees, a lot of people joining me every Monday night so we could chat and discuss all about our hunting stories, our hunting experiences, and share fishing stories, fishing experiences, and share obviously tactics, and talk about current events around the topic that is at hand. And tonight it actually happens to be about white-tailed deer and deer hunting. And I'd like to know, and Jason actually he joined me here. Jason can probably attest to this. He could probably chime in here and also say that this time of year, the end of October, but not right to leading into the beginning of November, is a really special time of year for a deer hunter. Let's see, Irish. I'm gonna pause here, Bruce. I found you by shorts. Swipe it through videos. Oh, thanks, Irish. Appreciate that. Mason says hi. Hey, Mason. How you doing, buddy? Keep it up, man. So, Mason, buddy, are you a hunter? This guy, Irish, he's stopping by to. It was kind of him to check in, see what's going on. But Irish don't hunt. But what about you, Mason? Are you a hunter? Obviously, Jason Gibson is. He's been joining me live every Monday. We got Hunter Thigpen. Christmas, I'm going to go up to Georgia and go hunting. Nice. So Hunter Thigpen says he's going on a hunt up in Georgia. Georgia has a lot of deer. You'll definitely have some success up there. Lil Bro says, what is better, worms or fish lures? So Lil Bro's asking if worms are, obviously, live bait is usually obviously live bait's a no-brainer that it'll catch. Live bait will catch a lot of fish, and that's why the Inland Fish, the Maine Department of Inland Fish and Wildlife, they and actually another thing about live bait, a lot of live bait is illegal to dump in bodies of water, and that's why for some bodies of water are actually overrun with non-native species of fish, because people toss in their bait that they don't want to keep anymore in the body of water. But also there's illegal stockings that have gone on. I remember growing up on fishing a lake that the locals told me. I remember one guy telling me he actually caught someone throwing bass in there. The lake, and this lake was known for its like landlocked salmon and brook trout and brown trout and things like that. And I remember hearing stories of some people being investigated and looked into for the illegal stocking of bass in the lake. And obviously live bait worms and shiners, things like that, can a lot of times you catch more fish with that. But there's lure companies out there, manufacturers of artificial lures, fishing lures, that have come a long way with there's a lot of lures that mimic live bait to a perfectly, and I've had a lot of success with that. But I'm straying from the topic at hand here. I'm supposed to be talking deer hunting, but someone did ask me a question about live bait versus lures. But anyone else that's with us here live, that if you want to, you can go ahead and answer Lil Bro's question. What do you, those of you that are with us, do you think worms or fish lures are better? Which would you prefer for fishing with? Worms, live bait, or lures? Lil Bro would like to know what everyone's opinions are on that. Irish says, what do you think about a license to hunt? Are there abuses by government on the necessity of hunting and fishing? That's a great question. So what do you think about a license? Now, Irish asked a really good question. I don't know. Actually, I think I touched on this a month or more ago when I was talking about bear hunting, when my live streams were on about black bear and bear hunting and hunting in general. But I did talk about the Pittman-Robertson Act, something like that. See, I actually might even have notes about it still right here, everybody. The Pittman-Robertson Act. It's an act that it's what it is. Let's see. I'm going to paraphrase here. I'm going to say it in my own words. But that the sale, pretty much all the sales of outdoor equipment and gear, and the sales of fishing and hunting licenses, there's a certain percentage of the sales of all outdoor gear, outdoor hunting gear, fishing gear, and licenses that go to wildlife conservation, and that pretty much go back to the states, or to the government, to help to fund these conservation efforts and stuff, so forth, so on. And also, it's actually the reason for a lot of parks being, a lot of wildlife parks, wildlife refuges. The reason why there are still land available. There's still land available out there for outdoorsmen and women to go and enjoy the hunting and fishing and such, so forth, so on. It's because of the sales of hunting licenses, fishing licenses, and the sales of outdoor goods. So there's this Pitson-Robinson Act was set in place, and it's to allow a certain surplus of the sales, a certain percentage, to go back into, be dumped into the money pot, if you will, that will go here for, maybe go over here for some kind of conservation project going on, or anything to do with wildlife, any current events around wildlife that needs funding. And then maybe a certain percentage, certain surplus of the sales of outdoor gear and licenses, hunting licenses, will maybe go over here to help with like the cleaning up of milfoils and other like invasive aquatic species and stuff that's choking out fisheries and lakes and ponds and such, so forth. A lot of money has helped fund that, and other fish conservation projects, stuff, so forth, and so on and so on. I mean, I could expound upon this more. Let's see, Jason Gibson says hunters provide the bulk of funding for conservation because of the Robinson Pittman. Exactly. Thank you, Jason. So yeah, that was so all of this, what Jason just typed, Irish, and what I'm talking about, and obviously probably a little tongue-tied, and I was paraphrasing and kind of trying to go on memory the best of my ability to kind of explain that. He says, Irish says, when did you drink water last? I don't know I was talking to Russell. Man, after my morning, I sat up in my tree saddle till like 1 p.m. today. And then the rain started to come down at 1, and then I decided to get down at 1 o'clock. I like to sit all day this time of year. I want to go expound on that a little more, and I got down to go get my blind and set up a blind for the rainy afternoon. It's raining now, and something's up in my throat. Irish just asked when I drank water last night. I noticed my throat was very groggy, scratchy when I was talking to Russell Manchester. He's a logger. He was out cutting his trees. He was coming from his logging operation further up from where I'm currently deer hunting and stuff. And we were chatting and talking. I noticed I think I might lose my voice. So hopefully I'll have my voice back before next Monday night for the live stream. Yeah, but yeah, Irish, something's up in my throat. So yeah, I apologize for my little my scratchy, groggy throat. But Irish says, do you need a license for private property? Their private properties are accessed by permission. So if, like, say you and I want to hunt a specific piece of property that we know is owned by such and such person, we must gain verbal and written permission from that individual who owns that land. And we do not need any permitting or licensing to go hunt private properties and lands. We just need written permission. And you need to renew that permission each and every year you want to hunt that property. You can't just assume that this year we got permission to hunt private property. We can't assume that it means that we can go and hunt that same property next year. There could be new ownership of that property. Things could have changed. They very well could have changed their minds whether or not they want you to hunt on their land, or anyone else for that matter to hunt on the private property. But no, you don't need, especially if you own a certain surplus of land, a certain amount of acres of land, you've got to look into it, into your laws and regulation stuff for the state where you live, where you're from, and look and ask your wardens, check with the Inland Fish and Wildlife, call your state officials. But there's a lot of permits for nuisance wildlife that can be given out to individuals that own so much land, or And especially if you have gardens and land, you do a lot of, you have some sort of agricultural land on your property, or in gardens for that matter, and you own 10 or more acres. I know in Maine, from a long, long time ago, it used to be that if you had 10 acres or more, and you had gardens, and you had deer eating your garden, ruining your garden and stuff, and they were a nuisance. You could get a nuisance permit to take a certain number of does or bucks or just nuisance deer, and to help lessen the damage to your crops and stuff, so forth, so on. So there's all kinds of little hidden kind of laws and stuff and rules about around hunting and dealing with nuisance animals and such, so forth. You just got to contact the state officials. You check with your local warden, inland fish and wildlife stuff where you live, and they'll lead you in the right direction. But let's see. Brandon says, "What was your best kill?" We get some good questions here. haven't even gotten to the meats and potatoes of what I was going to talk about tonight, but that's okay. Hey, it's only been 16 minutes. So Brandon's asking what my best kill was. Believe it or not, this might surprise you, but look at this buck back. This is the most recent mount I finished. I do my own taxidermy. I've been practicing taxidermy for 3 years, and this 9-pointer right here over my left shoulder. This is the most recent shoulder mount that I just completed, and it's my bow buck I shot on Halloween Day with my bow. It's a 9-pointer. He was 202 pounds, field dressed. A Maine 9-point buck, over 200 pounds with a bow. That's this guy right here. But my best, to answer your question, if I turn the camera, see this skull right over my left, right there, this bear skull? It's not to this bear. This is actually a small bear. This was actually a female bear too. But this was my first black bear. First black bear I ever killed was right here over this TV here. And this was like a 135-pound dressed sow, dry sow. She didn't have any cubs with her when she came in. She was a nuisance bear, and in the town I shot this bear in, she was sighted in people's yards, tearing apart their feeders and getting into their dumpsters, and she was sighted all in many yards in this town actually. And I put out a bait during bear baiting season in Maine, nearby this town. I ended up harvesting it and taking her. The nuisance problem stopped when I shot this bear, so this was obviously the culprit. And this bear never had cubs with it when it was in these dumpsters and taking down these bird feeders, and in people's yards and sighted and stuff around town. It was just a sow without cubs. But this skull right here is to a 240-pound dressed black bear, the biggest black bear I've ever shot. That's my best kill to date. And my best deer, white-tailed deer, is over there on the wall over yonder, right? He's up there anyway. So my best white-tailed buck's over there. My second best white-tailed buck's right here behind me. Then I got some deer I shot in high school and stuff. And on my bow, this was a bunch of bow deer. I got more deer antlers up there. I've got a couple other deer capes in the freezer and racks down in the basement from bucks I shot last few years that I need to mount. And a couple other black bear I have to mount up to that I've shot in the last couple of years. Oh, I still got to do the shoulder mount to the bear whose skull this belongs to right here. But anyways, so what I was saying in the beginning of this live stream was that, and Jason, if you're still with me live here, you're my backup, and you can, I'm sure you probably agree with this time of year right now is like the easiest time of year to call in a big mature trophy buck. And why that is because there's going to be a random doe here and a random doe there that's going to start smelling right, start cycling into estrus. And if any of you know who Bill Winky is, Bill Wink with Hoyt's Bow Hunting Whitetail Outdoor. See, he's a world-renowned, world-class whitetail hunter, Bill Wink, and he's had some TV shows in the past. He's got a very successful YouTube channel right now. He's got some books out there, and has written for many magazines and such, so forth, so on. And Bill Wink, him and like Dr. Grant Woods and and then some other scientists that I listened to on the Southern Outdoorsman podcast stuff, so forth. There's all these guys that I'm trying to make referring to that I'm thinking of that can back me up here. And I obviously learnt this through the years of my research and stuff, listening to podcasts and reading and such and so forth, so on, that there's like a hidden secret rut. Like beginning about the middle of October, you're going to have a random doe coming into heat, going in estrus. And I've noticed this with my trail camera, with my many trail cameras I've got spread out all over the place that have been dead for like all through September, like not getting many buck pictures at all, and daytime buck pics for that matter. Majority of the pics coming in early, like September, were all like does and yearlings, maybe tiny young little bucks. But I've noticed this, that once middle of October comes, my trail cameras will blow up with mature bucks, and a lot of times daytime, midday pics of them, early afternoon, late morning pics of traveling bucks with their nose right to the ground. And these are trail cameras that I can send me 10-second or 20-second video clips of, and so I can watch a video of them, what they're doing when they cross paths with that camera. And they were smelling out that doe that was coming to heat and estrus. And this is just basic biology too. Your does are going to come into heat. What I mean by that, estrus, they're going to go into estrus the same time, year after year after year. It's just basic biology. If that doe is still alive next year, that came in heat on, say, October 30th or November 1st this year, that doe, if she's still alive next year, she's going to come in estrus, cycle into estrus around the 31st or the 1st of November next year, and so on and so forth, as long as that doe stays alive. And that means you want to keep track of this data of when the does in your hunting area come into estrus, and keep track of, take mental note of, and remember the trail cam pics you got of mature bucks coming in and chasing a certain doe around, or a couple does in your hunting area. And just remember that date, because next year it could be a good idea to hunt there. Excuse my family. I don't know if you heard that. My son's yelling down there. But so yeah, you can almost bet money on it that if you hunt the same area that a doe coming heat in this year, and you were seeing a lot of bucks, having a lot of buck activity, a certain area of the area where you hunt, the getting could be good. Things could be heating up again at around the same dates, time frame following year. And it's no different than like pretty much you wouldn't go to your wife and say, you can't have your menstrual cycle now. Wait, can you wait another week? Can you push your menstrual cycle out a week? You know? I mean, think about it, that our women have their menstrual cycles at the same time every month. Well, it's just basic biology. I'm straying here and going on just trying to make an analogy here, a non-colorful analogy and example here, but talking about women's menstrual cycle stuff, so forth, so on. But your does, your white-tailed does, cycle, time of year when they're ready to breed, when they're fertile and can mate with bucks, is going to be the same time frame year after year after year. And a lot of your older, mature, wise does, so a lot of them are cycling into estrus starting like the middle of October towards the end of October. So this pre-rut time, this really heavy seeking phase of the pre-rut is happening like right now. The window of opportunity is like right now. The opportunity to hunt over scrapes. Right now, that 7 to 10 day window of scraping is going on. It has begun now and will last for all through this upcoming week and 10 days from now. And once you start seeing scrapes go cold, scrapes not being freshened, being revisited by bucks on their little daily routine or trek and circle trek, their bucks are very patternable at the time that they start scraping. You could almost bet money that if you have the time to put in, if you do have time, if you sit over scrape, that a buck is going to eventually come to that spot. It might not be the one that made the scrape initially, but all scrapes are social things. They're a visual cue and they're also, there's scents, certain smells, odors at that scrape site. There's also a cue and a signal to passing deer nearby. It's a visual and scent cue, and multiple deer, bucks and does and yearlings will visit scrapes and go to scrapes and deposit scent nearby, and they might sniff and lick and rub their heads on the licking branches above, and they might paw the ground. Does and bucks alike, doesn't matter what type of deer. That's just a social thing. And scrapes are always in very highly concentrated areas of deer travel. And it's also best to make your mock scrapes. If you're going to set a mock scrape up with a mock licking branch, you must put them where there's already a concentration of deer traveling through the area. That scrape won't do you any good to put out in an area where there might have been one deer all month passes by. That mock scrape's worthless. You want to have it set up near like intersections of trails and where there's multiple does and bucks of all ages coming through in every 24 to 48 hours. That's where you want to put your mock scrapes. And where you find scrapes and race scrape lines, rub lines, it's those ones that are in the areas where there's a more concentration of deer. And for the most part, that's why those scrapes and rubs are there anyway. It's because of all the does, the bucks laying down scrapes, because there's a doe group here and a doe group there. There's a couple does hanging over here, a doe bedding area there, a doe bedding area there. They're running their scrape lines and laying down scrapes, and they're tearing apart every tree around them in staging areas nearby, like food plots or fields or any like cutovers and things and so forth. Any opening for that matter. It's probably most likely a staging area that you could find this time of year. Staging areas are places where you'll know it's a staging area when you walk into it. You'll notice that almost every tree around you is torn up, thrashed up by a buck. A staging area with some like hot scrapes nearby, a few other rubs over here. You've hit pay dirt. If you find this type of sign this time of year right now, man, you need to sit all day long there. Hang a stand, put up blind, hunt this area. Obviously, you need to make sure your entry and exit routes aren't alarming any deer. You've got to find a backdoor entrance into this prime spot to hunt, or find out, or have someone drop you off if it's close by a road, a dirt road, a tar road that's frequented by vehicles or four-wheelers, such so forth, so on. You could have a buddy drop you off and then leave with that vehicle, and then you want to get ready because within an hour's time there could be deer showing up. Those deer heard you coming in, and they heard that vehicle leaving, so they think, oh, the coast is clear, but beknownst to them, there's a hunter in that blind or tree stand nearby that's getting ready to shoot that trophy buck. So that's one foolproof entry way so that the deer don't have a clue of your whereabouts, know that you exist. And there's others too, other entrance and exit routes and entry and exit plans and tactics that you can follow and do that. I'm going to actually go over all that in my next YouTube video. The next upload will be about about entering and exiting your set, your tree stand or blind sets, or you're entering your hunting area and exiting your hunting area without alarm and alerting any deer, and without let the deer know you exist. That's a lot of that's key. So that this time of year, man, the pre-rut, it's, whoo, man, if you could find a random doe that's near estrus or in estrus, there's one out there somewhere in your hunting area right now that a lot of bucks are chasing around and following or every move, and these bucks are bedded nearby her bedding area. They're feeding where she's feeding, because this doe is she's getting near estrus, and so there's that. But also, this is a great time of year to do a lot of morning hunting. You want to get up in your tree stands and get out in your blinds, and man, like early morning, like a couple hours before light, I like to go drive into my hunting area. I'm driving on a dirt road that gets frequented by Russell Manchester every morning. He drives in, and every afternoon, like by 1 p.m., he drives out. This dirt road gets driven by dump trucks and four-wheelers, and there's Megan Colbeth that goes in and out of there, Chris Graham, my boss at work, supervisor at work. There's a lot of pickup trucks that come and go, a lot of traffic on this dirt road. So me driving in isn't alerting the deer anyway. It's not hurt. They're probably not paying any attention at all to my pickup truck driving this dirt road in the morning. And I'll go in like an hour and a half, 2 hours before first light, and park in my parking spot, and I'll take an hour nap. I'll sleep more in my truck, and I'll wait till it starts getting a little light out, and then I'll get dressed and grab all my gear, and I'll still hunt my stand site or my blinds where I'm going into my blind. I like to go in right at almost the first legal minute of shooting light, because I'm not afraid of shooting a deer on the ground with my bow. A lot of times, if you're sneaking in, you're hunting your stand as if you were stalking a white-tailed deer. A lot of people have had this happen to them. A lot of times your success could happen on your way to your stand set. So you just got to keep all this in mind. I mean, that's just the way I do things. So yeah, so my hunting area, I can get away with driving in, because that dirt road's treated no different than a tar road, other tar roads nearby. The deer are used to a lot of vehicle traffic coming and going both directions on this dirt road at all random times. During August, during blueberry harvest season, there's nighttime travel with a leaf truck several times a night going up and down the dirt road. There's an early morning, late evening hours, traffic going up and down this dirt road. So it's my entry point into the woods where I hunt, and then I'll park in certain strategic spots, and then according to the wind and stuff, and according to what stand I want to go hunt, is where I choose to park my truck, and then I'll access the stands with the right wind and such, so forth, so on. But let's see here. It says Maine is open. Jason says Maine is open hunt state, which means you can hunt on other people's private property without permission unless it is posted. Inland Fish and Wildlife does encourage to obtain permission, but not necessary. That's right, that's true. And first, second, and third rut, October, early, mid-November, and early December. First, second, third, but October, early, mid-November, yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, you've got your yearling does that are becoming sexually mature late November into December, hence your post-rut. You got your pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut is all. I mean, it's all just stems from basic biology here. All these white-tailed deer, they're mammals, and their mating seasons are going to come and go about the same time frame. It doesn't matter the weather, it doesn't matter the moon phase, doesn't matter the temperature. The doe, she's going to come into heat, into estrus, same time every year. And that it could be driving, pouring rain. It could be a 90-degree day in October, and this doe's in estrus, and she could have like multiple bucks following her around, following her mood, chasing her. The bucks fighting each other, trying to chase one another off to win, to become the suitor of the doe. And but obviously, this is biologically science fact. More than, even though a doe is bred by one particular buck. I don't know if any of you know this, but this is a cool fact about white-tailed does and the white-tail mating and the rut and so forth and so on. This is really, really interesting to note that this buck mated with this doe. The buck kind of hung around for a little while. A lot of times the bucks will stick with a doe that they've mated with for a couple days, 2-3 days, maybe a little less, maybe just a day or so forth. But eventually the buck will move on. But they'll mate with her multiple times in that 48-hour time span, that 2-3 day time span. That buck's, what the reason for that is that buck's wanting to make darn sure that he's the father of the offspring of the fawns that are born from that doe. But if once that buck departs and he moves on and he starts seeking out another available doe, another buck can come into play. It is, I didn't know if any of you knew this, but this was, when I first learned this, I was like, whoa, this is really interesting. So Joe Blow takes off from having mated with the doe, and then the other buck nearby comes in, and that doe could still be, and he's still be available to breed, still be accepted, still accept bucks, and that buck could very well become the father of her fawns, even though that buck ahead of him already mated with her. I didn't know if any of you knew this, but that's a really cool fact. So it's possible that 2 or 3 bucks mated with a doe, those bucks moved on, and the third buck was even able to mount this doe and mate with her, and it won't be the first. Those fawns that are born when that doe becomes pregnant and she has her fawns, it's very possible that they aren't the offspring of the first, second buck, but the third buck, the offspring of the third, and so on. I mean, it's so peculiar. It's really interesting that happens. But that's why, like, I mean, we've all heard of the lockdown phase and that. So when you have a doe and estrus and a buck, you have a mature buck coming into play here. He's mating with her several times in that 48-hour time span, 72-hour time span, whatever, 2-3 day time span, and he's pretty much, he's locked down with her. That's the lockdown phase. He's following her every move. The doe could be bedded at his hooves while he's just standing there looking around, chest held high, and she might get up to graze a little bit. He'll follow suit, follow her every move. He may bed close by where he can still watch her, smell where she's at, and see her, hear her. When she gets up, he'll get up. I mean, this very well could be going on right now, this day, right now at this time, and on through November into December. You're going to have certain bucks locked down with certain does, the does that are in estrus. And so, right, this is a golden time of year right now for all deer hunters. This is the time to utilize your deer calls, because the mature bucks are easiest to call in this time of year right now. The buck tendon grunting, just grunting every step. Just a series of buck tendon grunts could could be dynamite, man. It could be what brings that buck right into your lap. This is the time of year where you can make bucks show up right where you want them, come right in front of you. You don't have to wait for them to show up, or you don't have to go search for one. You could just get up into your tree stand and a nice little funnel up on a high point on a ridge for a morning hunt, and then down, or on you could be set up on a saddle, a bench, or in like a rut funnel of some kind, and you could be sitting there and just the perfect tree stand setup for the pre-rut, for the time of year where the bucks are on their feet like all day long and just seeking out estrus does, looking for the first available does, and they're wandering their home ranges all over the place. You could have multiple bucks coming by, multiple bucks nearby. And right now, if you were to hit that call, doing some buck tendon grunting, and maybe wait a moment and stuff after the buck tendon grunt, throw in a couple like doe bleats or something to make it just sound even that much more realistic. So if you could have a buck come right in on a string, and it's game on. So this is just a great time of year right now to call in deer. So your deer calls could be your number one. Yeah, could be. I'm tongue-tied here, lost for words, and also I'm tired. I hunted all day long. I didn't leave the woods all day, but yeah. So they could, yeah. Deer calling could be the number one tactic for you right now that really seals the deal for you. I mean, that's how I got this buck right here over my right shoulder. This buck, but I named Shorty. He's got short tines. At 2.5 years old, he had short tines, and he was only an 8-pointer. This is him at 3.5 years old. When he got a year older, he grew a 9th point, and he grew to be over 200 pounds. He field dressed 202 pounds. It was on Halloween day. It was just a few days from now. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Halloween is this coming Friday. It was this week, last week of October. It was on Halloween evening. I went into a tree stand that I didn't disturb all year long. It's one of my rut stands, my pre-rut stands. Tree stand that I've placed for this time of year only. And it's because every year, this last week of October, button into the beginning of November, every year there's a certain doe or two that comes into heat and estrus around this area where I hunt. And the bucks, there's all kinds of bucks that come into this area where I have this tree stand set. Sure enough, I only had an hour and a half of daylight left. I went out to hunt with just an hour and a half of daylight left. And I was just in my blue jeans. I grabbed the camel coat off my coat rack entryway. I did wear my Spikes and Gills camel hat to represent. And I grabbed my camera gear, set up my cameras, had my deer calls, had my bow, had my blue jeans that I just wore to work. But it didn't matter. You don't shoot them sitting on the dang couch. I was going to take a nap on the couch and then take my son trick-or-treating. But I decided to hit this stand. Being the time of year it was, I was like, you never know. And you never know. You've got to get out. You've got to just go hunt. Can't shoot them sitting on your dang couch. You've just got to go hunt. And I went, and with an hour and a half, it took me 20 minutes to... So I lost like the half hour. By the time I got in the stand, there was barely 45 minutes of daylight left. And I wasn't in the stand long, and I heard grunting from this guy. I heard him grunt. You like my grunt? I got to use the manufactured calls. I can't grunt with my voice, especially with a groggy throat. But yeah, I heard this boy grunting, and I look up from out the opening. I see him chasing a doe. I see a doe bound off this way, then a second doe, and him in tow, and him grunting as he was chasing them. He grunted a few times. Then the does come back to my left, and he bounded their way, grunting again. And the audio was awesome. I have him grunting on camera. I have a shotgun mic that picks up all sounds from far away. You can hear him grunting in the video. And for some odd reason, the does ran off. I thought maybe they might have got my scent, a little bit of my human scent, because this buck ran off to my right. He bounded off out of sight in the woods to my right, and the does went out of sight this way to my left. And I was like, and he separated from the does, and he was by himself in the woods over here. So I took my deer call out, and I did some doe bleating. Did like 3 or 4 doe bleats, and then I went right to buck tendon grunting to sound like a different buck chasing them does. He didn't like that. Now the red squirrels were going bazonkers, nuts, and the birds were sounding off the alarms in the woods. I knew he was still right there. I could hear him in there. I think he was thrashing some trees. He heard that buck tending, what he thought was a buck tending the does that he was just trying to tend, and he was chasing, and it was getting him all fired up, worked up. And it wasn't too much longer after I did the call-in sequence. I called like at least twice. Did some doe bleats, some buck tendon grunting, and I waited like 5 minutes or so. Waited a while, and I did another call-in sequence. This time angled the call in the direction that he went to. And it wasn't very long after all that calling that he come right in front of my tree stand and walked right straight to me. And he was only out there like 12, 15 yards right in front of me, and I had to freeze like a statue. But as soon as I saw him come out of the trees over here, I got my cameras turned on. I was able to film the whole hunt and got it all on video. I was able to get a couple different cameras turned on. And I had to wait for him to walk kind of slightly past my stand and turn. And I had to wait for the perfect moment to draw my bow and take a shot at him. He was facing me, so he would have seen any movement. I had to freeze and just wait, patient. Shorty finally did walk on, and he turned right, and he was facing away from me. I had a quarter and away shot at 10 yards. I paced the distance. It was exactly a 10-yard shot from my 15-foot ladder tree stand, and I drilled him, and he didn't go very far, 60 to 80 yards tops, and was dead. I heard him crash down and go silent. It was easy. He was easy to find, and he field dressed 202 pounds, and I shot him on Halloween evening with my bow. I got him by calling. He was at first earlier. He was chasing some does and grunting his head off and stuff. So I mean, a very similar hunting story like this could play out for me this week. That's why I take this week off from work. I'm hunting every single day. I'm hoping to get Curly. Curly's a buck I've been chasing for a couple years. I've got his shed antlers from the last 2 years in a row. And Curly ran with this guy. Last year, Shorty and Curly were kind of bachelor'd up. I've got trail cam pics of them in September and August, feeding together off of several different trail cameras. And then they eventually split up and went their separate ways. Curly hung out in a different part of the woods that I hunt, and he was hanging more closer towards the majority of the does. That's why he was kind of easy to hunt and get on. He was right with the does, where the majority of the does were that I knew about, where the doe bedding areas were. I had this rut stand, set up, placed on like an inside corner of a field, big opening area, and it's set up right on the edge of an old logging cut, and it's right smack dab next to all kinds of like doe bedding areas. Does will bed in the cut, and over here they'll bed off to my left. Over this way is doe bedding areas. There's doe bedding areas further out this way, and the bucks will obviously come and bed and hide in these areas as well, and hang here and lay down their scrape lines and rut and just tend the does in this area too. So it's a great rut stand location, great pre-rut and rut stand. And I have a couple different stands that are set up in certain spots for the same reason. And I won't go anywhere near them. Won't deposit any human scent, odor nearby. I won't disturb these sites in any way, shape, or form until certain days of the season, certain times, when I feel like the getting's getting good, when I feel like it's time, and when just when the weather's perfect, the wind's right, the temperature's right, and just the gut feeling is right. When I just have that gut feeling that I need to go there, I'll go there. So I have stands all over the place and blind set up everywhere. And obviously I got a tree saddle I can use to mobile hunt. So let's see, we've got Adrian Baker on. He says, hi. Hey Adrian, how you doing? How's your hunting going so far, Adrian? Let's see, Jason asks, do you prefer rut funnels hunting or catching them from bedding areas? Rut funnel hunt. Right now I'm the action's going to be slow when hunting funnels or hunting hill hunt. Like if you're hunting like ridges and hilltops and points and benches and saddles and so forth, or hunting the heads of draws or pinch point bottleneck funnel areas. A lot of times the action will be slow, but if a person that has time, they can put their time in these like rut funnels, they go to that spot. As long as you know darn certain, Jason, that you're not alerting any deer, as long as you know that the local deer, the resident deer, don't know you're using that spot. You're not spooking them out of there. You're not alerting the deer of your whereabouts. You put in your time there in that rut funnel. Eventually, shooter buck might. So no guarantee, obviously. There's no guarantee in hunting. So it might come by. But let's see the second part of your question. But yeah, it's hunting known bedding areas are just pretty much the thickest, densest, high stem count type of area on your property. Those areas are going to be where there's going to be a concentration of deer activity and deer bedding and deer hiding, especially when the hunting pressure goes on. If there's a lot of human disturbance around, the deer are going to gravitate towards the densest, thickest, impenetrable parts of your property, like places where humans probably will avoid and not go. So, and those are, it's obviously this time of year, it's a great idea to hunt the fringes and edges and around those types of areas, those areas that you know exist in your hunting area. And maybe too, even better yet, an interior edge off of the interior edges are those like thick, those really thick, dense, like areas where there's like habitat diversity, where you might have an older growth pine type forest button up to an old cutover that grew in real thick with all kinds of vines and briars and like forby type vegetation and stuff and young saplings. And there might be tons of like raspberry bushes and stuff everywhere here and there, like just real thick, dense, high stem areas with a nice defined edge button up to a different type of habitat. Those areas, that's like a good interior edge. Your outer edges are obviously like your field, your like clear cuts, fields, food plots. Your outer interior edges, outside edges and inside corners are great places to focus on. That, and also maybe that interior edge has that, maybe it's like a narrow strip of thick vegetation and then it's more open on either side. Maybe it's a nice narrow funnel or a pinch point bottleneck area where deer will feel safest traveling through or traveling by versus the wide open timber. Like those type of areas and setups are great this time of year. So Jason, to answer, let's see what I'm doing, how I'm playing out my hunt. I've got a game. It's also very helpful to have a game plan and stick to a game plan and not constantly straying from your game plan all time. Sometimes you have to, but if you have a game plan, stick to it, and good things will come of it. I promise you. But what I'm doing is I'm hunting all morning till almost 2 p.m. I'm not getting down out of the tree until 1 or 2 p.m. And then I'm getting a quick bite to eat, quick lunch. It's very quick. Like I'm hardly wasting an hour. and then I'm getting right to my evening stand sites or locations, or I'm grabbing my tree sticks for my saddle hunting setup, mobile hunting setup, and heading for an evening stand site. So that's how I'm hunting this week, and my evening sets are all 100% of the time, Jason, always close by bedding areas, very close by where I know for darn sure there are like does and yearlings bedded, and hopefully a shooter buck close by, or shooter buck hanging out somewhere nearby that doe bedding area. So, yeah, let's see what else we got here. Adrian says, seen 16 deer today. Sweet. Adrian says, opening day. So where are you from, Adrian? This was opening day for you? I wonder where that was. Opening day for us here in Maine was like a month ago. Well, there was the opening day of expanded archery season like the 6th or 8th of September. We've been bow hunting for deer for over a month and a half now. Almost 2 months straight. Adrian says New Brunswick. Oh, wait. Yes. Sorry, Adrian. How could I forget? I think you joined me live a few weeks back, Adrian. You're the New Brunswick guy. Yes. We were back when I was talking about black bear and bear hunting content and stuff. I think you joined me live then. That's right. So welcome back, Adrian. So yes, yeah, he says I'm right. So Adrian says we were just driving and exploring, but they're everywhere up here. Nice. Oh, so the deer density is high up in New Brunswick, Adrian. That's cool. That's good, and I hope you get a nice buck. I loved being up there in New Brunswick, chasing black bear. That's all I hunted up there when I was there. And it was what's his name? Man. Oh, Jason retracted a message. This year is really good. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've noticed the white-tailed deer populations are growing all over the place. There's a lot of deer, like almost everywhere. So I feel like the majority of folks, like those that even only get to hunt, like those weekend warriors, they only get to hunt Saturdays, only get to hunt 4 or 5 times a season. I feel like it's going to be a lot of success for them guys too, because there's so many deer. Can you guys be quiet? Oh, you guys are loud. So sorry everybody. I have to apologize for my family being loud in the background, and Bryson having his head fit. But anyway, I see my son's seen a nice one, but couldn't get a shot. Nice. Oh, was that on Youth Day? This year is really my 12-year-old son actually was getting ready to squeeze the trigger on Youth Day, and the deer decided to bound off. He said he had the crosshairs of the scope right on he was using a crossbow too, and it was only like 20 yards away. He was aiming right where he should, and he said he almost squeezed that trigger and sent that bolt from the crossbow to that deer. And as it decided to bound off, and he quickly let off, and he was like, "Geez, Dad, I was just getting ready to squeeze the trigger." So my son came ever so close to getting a deer on Youth Day. And we got on several deer too, different deer. We called some in, crossed in front of us, too far away for a crossbow. He would have been able to tag out all day long if he decided to use a rifle. But my son's kind of has shell shock going. He killed his first deer a couple years ago with a 20 gauge shotgun with a slug, dropped the deer at 42 yards, but he kind of deafened him a little bit. I couldn't find his ear muffs to protect his hearing in the truck. It was after we killed the deer that we got to the truck, and I found the earmuffs were like right there in plain sight. It goes that way sometimes. I looked for them when we were scrambling to get the gun and get out and go stalk the deer. And yeah, so he he's a little nervous and hesitant to pull the trigger on his rifle. I even bought him a 350 Legend rifle, put a youth stock on it with a nice cushion, and those 350 Legends don't have as much kickback as some other high-powered rifles, but he's just hesitant to pull the trigger, nervous about it. But he'll hunt all day long with a crossbow. He loves the crossbow. He can't wait to shoot a deer with the crossbow. But he came as close to getting one. Adrian says, anyway, I gotta go. So your son's 15, cool. I hope both of you get deer this year. Yeah, take care, Adrian. It's about time to end this live stream anyway. But yeah, my throat was something up my throat. Hopefully it clears up before next Monday night. Jason says, bird hunting a week ago. Saturday on East Ridge near Route 85. 6-pointer and wide open. Blueberry fields with 3 does. Nice. So that's about a week ago. Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't doubt it that one of those does are probably close to estrus. They're probably smelling right. That's what that buck was probably chasing and harassing them does. He was smelling something from them that was piquing his interest. He was wanting a piece of tail, I would say. So about a week ago, that's about right. Because just earlier I was mentioning how like I learned this through like Grant Wood, Dr. Grant Woods, Bill Wink, the Southern Outdoorsman podcast, and their guests. They've had biology scientists that they've had studied deer and stuff, deer research and biology and all that. I've learned that there's a secret, kind of so-called secret hidden rut that the majority of folk that just haven't been educated on the matter don't really know about, and that happens right around mid-October. Every year there's going to be a certain amount of does coming into estrus early on in October, and that was probably going on in this buck's neck of the woods where you saw that buck chasing with those does. So it's a good bet. I mean, last year, middle of October, man, my trail cameras blew up with mature bucks and daytime pics of these bucks just cruising my hunting area with noses right to the ground. They were smelling something, and obviously scent from does, from a certain doe for that matter, probably a doe. There had to have been a doe that was in estrus middle of October last year in my hunting area, because it was just dead. No buck activity at all a week before, and then like even almost a week after, like after that in the middle of October, and even towards the last week of October, it kind of, the buck activity in my area slowed down. I would stop seeing them on camera and so forth. I still was fortunate enough to get this buck over my right shoulder on Halloween Day, but there was, I firmly believe that there was probably another doe that was near estrus or even in estrus that was taking the interest, that was pretty much pulling the bucks her way in her neck of the woods. And wherever that doe was, that's where the majority of the buck activity was, probably, or somewhere nearby. And but also too, just it's factual too, fact that probably a lot of the bucks, the neighboring bucks, were cruising elsewhere, checking different doe groups, not on the property I was hunting. I'll say that's factual. That can happen. I mean, what can you do? All you can do is just put in your time, do all day sits, and just hunt. It's called hunting, not killing, for a reason. So just gotta persevere, man. Don't give up. Just keep pushing forward. You'll eventually taste success. So I don't think I had that many people join me live this Monday. I didn't see the traffic on here that I did last Monday. I think that's because last Monday's live stream was about moose hunting and my moose hunt in general, and there's still moose hunting going on currently. There's still moose hunting this week. Is there? Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I think there is. Is there a November moose hunt? Is the last moose hunt the first week of November? Does it? I think this is we might be in the last week of moose hunting in Maine. So I think that's why my live stream blew up last Monday night, because it was all about moose, and about a moose hunt, and we're right in the smack dab towards like in the middle and end of or that live stream was right in the middle of moose hunting season. So yeah. Anywho's it. This live stream sucked. My throat was all groggy and scratchy, and I didn't have the traffic on here this one. Hopefully next Monday night I have many more people joining me live. I'm going to talk more deer hunting tactics, and just general deer talk for that matter. So Jason says I got a Sprite if you get a chance. Bring your saddles. Yeah. Oh, I got a spot. He says get the 10-pointer I just missed last year. I think moose is wrapping up. Yep, I believe it is. I think this is the last week of moose hunting. So you missed a 10-pointer last year, Jason? Damn. There's one 10-pointer, Jason, in my whole hunting career so far that I got to shoot at. And it was with my bow. It was the first and only 10-pointer so far, 10-point buck, that I had a chance to shoot. He wasn't even 12 yards away. And I blew it. It was with my bow. It was an island hunt, expanded archery hunt on an island like Islesboro or something. You may have heard of it, Jason. And oh man, first I saw some does and yearlings and smaller bucks come through. They went in one direction. I was sitting between apple trees to my left out in the field, a whole bunch of apple trees, and there was a deeper, thicker, swampy wetland over here where they came out of the wetland, swampy area. And the does and yearlings, younger bucks, went in a different direction. This buck just didn't like an about face and went whoop. He turned my way and gave me like a 10, 12-yard shot. And I drew my bow, and it was like my 30-yard pin was pointing at him. I had to come down. He was so close because I was standing. It was ground. We were eye to eye. I was on the ground. I was behind my ghost blind, but he came behind me instead of in front of my ghost blind. And so I had to stand and turn around and kind of use the tree trunk as cover to break up my outline. I drew back, and I had to bring my bow down to aim at him with my top pin. So I was doing a lot of movement, and he was catching me. He was staring at me, saw my movement as I was aiming, and I hit my trigger release when that pin was about bottom of his brisket. That arrow just clipped his arm, his leg. The arrow went right under his brisket and like nicked. I had just a little bit of hair and muscle on the broadhead. There was no blood or anything. So I just grazed him. He ran out of my life for good. Tail held high, and he didn't look hurt at all, at least bit. But that was a 10-point buck, a really big 3.5+ year old 10-point buck. He might have been like a 4-year-old even. He was mad. The rack was huge. He was a giant buck. And I blew it. I guess that happens. That's why they call it hunting. So you missed a chance at 10-point too, huh? I guess all hunters have to have that story. The one that got away. Oh, that stinks that you didn't get that 10-pointer. Says, yeah, I think. Cool. Anyways, so those of you that are still with me watching this live stream, you can check out my description below, and you'll see down there that I have my 2 books, Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Secrets, and The Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. The PayPal links for ordering any one of those books are there. You can click on those PayPal links to order any one of my 2 books, Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Secrets, or The Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. And you can click on the shopping icon to browse my Spikes and Gills hoodies and t-shirts and such so forth. My long sleeve tees, short sleeve tees. I have zipper type hoodies, pullover hoodies with left chest logo and logo on the back type hoodies. And I have long sleeve tees with left chest logo. big logo, blown up logo on the back, such and so forth. So you can check out the shopping icon to browse the Spikes and Gills shirts. And then you definitely go to the description below to order any one of my 2 books. Wild Man Outdoors, Hunting Tactics for Secrets. This is spot is coming for us near you. Say, so Cash says, hi, how you doing, Cash? I was just ending the live stream. But thank you for stopping in. I've been live for like 70 minutes. Holy crap. And I've just been blabbing, but I've been answering some questions and about fishing, and some questions about deer hunting, some questions about hunting licensing, so forth and so on. And Jason's been a big help too, answering some people's questions and stuff and chiming in. So I go live for those of you that are still here. So those of you that have joined me late here in this live stream, you can join back next Monday night at 9. I go live every Monday night between 9 and 10 p.m. And the topic on the live streams going forward for the next several weeks is all about white-tailed deer, current events around deer, deer biology, deer hunting tactics, tips, secrets, and just anything to do with the deer. So that's what the live streams will be about. And my next several uploads, my regular video uploads on my channel, will be all about the topic of deer hunting, deer in general. Yeah, so, and deer hunting tactics and such, so forth, so on. So you'll definitely want to be on the lookout for the future uploads on Spikes and Gills that have to do with deer hunting. Subscribe to Spikes and Gills if you're not already, and click the notification bell so you'll be notified of all future uploads. And smash the like button before you go, everybody. Thanks for joining me live, and I hope to see you back here next Monday night. So talk more deer hunting. See you then.